Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of the anime series, Norn9. This was another highly intriguing episode. This series has a grand penchant for introducing into the plotline a crap ton of WTF-ery, But the really interesting thing is, it's all highly intriguing things to do with the story, and I never feel like they miss a beat in keeping the story progression going, whether that being the overarching plotline, interpersonal relationships between characters, whatever they might be dealing with internally, individually. It feels like a thorough progression, even with, by the end of this episode, having so many questions now hanging in the balance. I'm just highly intrigued. I'm highly compelled by what in the hell is going on with these characters and this backdrop and everything like that. Very much is the crux of this episode, surrounding the fact that Norn, in 9 days' time, per, basically the communication between Toya and, I guess, the world or, its benefactors, in 9 days' time is coming to its destination, wherever or whatever that happens to be. And everyone is under the assumption these are our final 9 days together. We will be going our separate ways. We'll be meant to break up. And, at least going all the way back to like the first episode with Senri, it was his estimation, and we've had sort of confirmation nuggets, if you will, all across the course of the series, to solidify this idea that all of these characters with powers are going to be thrown into the vestiges of war. And I don't know if this is just war, unfolding in one particular place and time in the history of the world, or many, or what have you, this, that, and the other thing, opposing armies and factions, and if this is just the all-encompassing idea of war throughout history, or if there is one penultimate place and time that the penultimate war is meant to take effect. And we know that people are trying to keep this perpetual, some people are trying to create a reset, all this kind of stuff. Some people want to see humanity somehow expound beyond war and, survive it and all this kind of stuff. And it's just really highly intriguing. And so, somewhat comedically, they all decide to go get some supplies and this, that, and the other thing, because they're going to dare each other. They're gonna do this grand dare where there's like this haunted mansion just up on a hill somewhere inside Norn, okay, that's been there all along. And they're going to try to scare each other and everything like that. And it's really comical. I like that they sort of went against type with who teams up with whom. It's not all the same sort of couples as we saw in the Dream Sequence episode a couple episodes back now and everything. And it works like a charm on some people. Other people not so much. Koharu, most notably, she's like not scared at all by anything, by skeletons, by this crazy demon thing that comes out of the hallway and everything, partnered up with Senri. And whereas you have like Akito is scared of rats. It's not even part of the act of somebody scaring him. There's just rats about and he's terrified out of his mind. So all of that was actually pretty funny, but it's the interpersonal connectivity that's going on between these, couples, if you will, that was really astounding to me. That sort of bridging the divide between Koharu and Kakeru, respectively, to the point of very much vowing to each other and having deep romantic kissing, going on between them. I was just kind of like, whoa. Hold your horses there, pal. Just both of them. And then, like, the iconography that goes along with that, showing the plant, the newly grown plant, and the water droplets, and the internal monologue of Koharu talking about her whole body is just feeling the warmth and the, vibrancy of this and everything. Feeling damp, like the wetness on the ground. And then, okay, I guess we're really moved by this one. Just short of fireworks to solidify what the hell's going on there. And it's cool. I like seeing them come together, although I did feel like Kakeru kind of tipped his hat a little bit. He still very much feels, like he has some kind of poison deep down inside. And will Koharu still want to be with him and still want to stare at him and find him as beautiful as she does, as much as he does her and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, is he really trying to communicate that he's a bastard in disguise? Like maybe he's a villain and nobody knows it yet, and you know, we think it's this person or that person, Ron most notably, and like maybe he's involved, maybe he has something, maybe he has some sort of dark secret. It's not just that he's down about himself or he has low expectations of himself. I don't know. But whatever the case, they slump down to the ground, embracing, kissing. It's like, on the one hand, really happy for them. On the other hand, I'm just like, I don't know. You know? But then, of course, Nanami and Akito, like, these two I've been really championing. And I like, this series seems to emphasize them quite a bit. I don't know if this is, you know, if the same can be said for the source material, the game, whatever like that. But I like that Akito has gone from just being a jerk face to being comically likable, and his nervousness around Nanami, like he's really starting to get a handle on how he feels about her. And I think he's falling for her, or he's fallen and he's just been in denial, whatever it is. But this is scaring Nanami because he's been mean to her for so long and kept her at an arm's length for so long. She doesn't quite know how to handle his kindness and everything like that. I mean, he saves her at one point when they go down to Earth in this one particular time period, and you have these two real a-holes, just like, you know, she accidentally bumps into the guy, and what's he gonna do? Go rape her or something like that? Like grabbing her by the hand, leading her along, having Akito come and save her. It was just like, okay, I wouldn't make frequent trips to Earth if I were these people, if this is the kind of crap you gotta deal with. Especially these timid young women who, you know, I mean, powers or no powers, we have yet to see them really, other than Mikoto, kicking ass. You know, so, I mean, I was afraid for Nanami at that point. I'm glad Akito stepped in. But it's, again, steeping upon that idea of the really weird relationship dynamic between them. And calling back once again on the past, do we actually see very literally what the memory was that Nanami robbed Akito of? And I think the question that lingered the most about that for me was because Akito's, you know, this is when they're children and he's remembering his brother and he's talking about how nice his brother is and how much he wants to be like his brother when when he grows up. And Nanami, like, just pats him on the head and this power eruption happens and then he's forgotten his brother. Now, the thing that it left me wondering was, why did she do that? Like, was his brother dead? Had his brother died at that point? And he was, you know, she was determining that this was some kind of mourning and feeling really depressed and down and unhappy, recollecting his brother, you know, and she thought she would be doing something good for him by removing that memory? Had she misinterpreted all of that? And that wasn't the case at all, but that's what she thought. And the brother was just out at his day job. And she took the memory out and just completely befuddled Akito's life. I don't know. I hope we get a little more detail along those lines. I kind of feel like it would have benefited if we knew exactly why she was motivated to do that. And, you know, like, if, as I say, his brother had been dead or something like that, and she felt it was detrimental to him to be pining over his brother, okay, I can see that. It makes sense, but it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. Like, they're just hanging out and they're talking about his brother, and like all of a sudden she's just like, well, none of that, no more of that. You know, I don't know. But again, seeing that sort of trepidation on both of their parts in certain ways to come together, I'm rooting for them. I want to see them come together, but at the same time, it's just highly intriguing. It's like, I don't know where it's going to go necessarily. And again, talking about Mikoto, who I brought up earlier, you know, that whole dynamic between she and Sakuya, and that was like, yeah, they really switched it up as far as, you know, Akito was jerkface a while ago, now Sakuya was practically jerkface in this episode. I had thought, you know, he had been the bigger man and he'd moved on, but apparently he has been holding internally this confliction of, like, I saw her with Itsuki in the dream. She thought it was Sakuya, but from Sakuya's POV, of course, he's seeing Mikoto in the arms of Itsuki, the commander, the master of this dream sequence event thing. And so, naturally, he's jealous. and he's misunderstanding the entire affair, but like he gets physical with Mikoto to a point where I was like, back the F off. What are you doing? At least he had the sense to apologize, to not carry it on. I mean, he brought Mikoto to the point of tears. And Mikoto, to me, is a kick-ass broad. She's the most kick-ass among all of the female leads in this series. And for this to really bring out that emotion in her, I mean, she loves him. And vice versa. They don't speak about it. You know, they don't come out and say it, but that's how they feel. And there's this begrudgingness because, you know, they want to have some level of ill-perceived detachment because, you know, they're both afraid he's going to die and it's going to be in trying to save her and whatever like that whole dynamic. And so it's very realistic in the way it's being portrayed, but it just, at the same time, it's like when he was getting physical with her, I'm like, I guess he traded places with Akito and being jerkface, Mr. Jerkface, you know, physical jerkface. And I like that they kind of were able to reconcile in the big scary haunted mansion, air quotes, you know, when she launches at him after a scare and knocks him on his ass, similarly to how he did to her previously. And they're able to laugh about it and they're genial about it. And they're probably my second most, like, I'm not a shipper. I don't ship characters really. Sometimes I like to see, you know, characters get together if it's well fitted or if that seems to be the angle the story is going for. And I do want to see them come together. I guess, you know, as much as I don't prefer to be a shipper, I am very much shipping them. But I really feel the death knell by the end of this one. I don't know which one of them is going to die, but I know one of them is. I feel like one of them is certain to not, you know, survive to the end of the series or whatever, probably Sakuya. Because, of course, as we see by the end of this episode, you have the whole thing with Toya, you know, laying the bomb drop, no pun intended, that they only have 9 days to go. And just as he and Ron are, you know, getting to the mansion and they've kind of perused the grounds, there's nothing jumping out at them and everything. And you have Ron being like, I'm really disappointed. There hasn't been anything to shock me out of the blue anywhere. And then Toya turns to him, he's like, why did you cause the explosion? Ba-boom! You know, like, holy hell. And then, of course, this is coinciding with Sorada, who has seen this ghostly girl, this apparently sing-songy ghostly girl, following after her, trying to find out who and what she is. And I guess she knocked him out. I hope she didn't kill him, you know. But then she's, like, singing and harmonizing, and it's going along with the melody of what's, you know, the eeriness of what's going on. That's the WTF coming to the fore. Ron makes his spiriting away, makes his escape, leaving Toya to be like, where the hell is he? Everyone's looking for Sorada, but he's looking for Ron. Because Ron, you know, his response is, oh, are you about the reset? You know, like, and just, damn, all of that. But not to be outdone. Of course, we need a cliffhanger. Of course, this series needs a cliffhanger. And what better than to split Sakuya and Mikoto up and have Ron grabbing Mikoto after finding her little drawing of Gunman, as I call him, because I'm still not sure what his name was. For any wondering, in my last episode when I just said Gunman out of the blue. And he grabs Mikoto's hand and, like, rips her toward, you know, the drop that is right behind him and sends her careening over this humongous drop. And he's just like, good luck. He's going to make his getaway, and she's falling to her penultimate demise if nobody can get there in time. And it's interesting that because I'm calling back to the last episode, internally I'm thinking, you know, there was that point where Ron was so-calledly disappointed that, you know, you had Kakeru not wearing or going after, like, using his powers while he wore the earpiece. He felt very much, Kakeru felt very much that whatever power he had, it was something that he summoned through remembering his father, the strength he took from it, or the strife he took from it, and that was emboldened and embodied by the earpiece. And now that, you know, Koharu had taken it back from Ron and given it back to Kakeru, he's not wearing it because he feels good around Koharu. But does that mean he's not going to be able to use his abilities? I don't know. Because if not, then the immediate thought I had, oh, well, it's going to be the Vines thing all over again, like the way he saved Akito and Nanami episodes back. Maybe not. But then how are they going to save Mikoto? I don't have any freaking clue. And I'm dying to know. I'm dying to see where this goes next and what's going to happen with these characters. What is happening with this war? It seems like there are fighter planes, or at least the in-series equivalent, and war potentially unfolding. Looks like some new characters and gunman and everything like that, really raising the stakes. And that's what it really feels like. It feels like we have thoroughly ramped up to like the concluding chapters of whatever this story is and what's going on, what it's all meant to, you know, be in its finale and everything like that. And it's just a really a hell of a watch. I wish more people were actually watching it, because it's really intriguing. I can see for certain people maybe what is unfolding in the story could be befuddling and hard to follow a little bit, but I feel like if you're invested in the characters, which I was from almost the word go, and you know, there are certain characters I still haven't really memorized the names of because they're largely in the background. I'm mainly focusing on the mainstays that continue to be, you know, focused upon. But I mean, they're thoroughly engaging and just figuring out the mystery of this world and what's going on with it. It seems like so many of these characters are in the same boat as we, the viewer. They're just trying to make the best of a confusing, befuddling situation and hoping for the best outcome. And really, again, the interpersonal dynamics going on between them, their personal relationships, what they're dealing with on a personal level to coincide with their interpersonal connectivity. It's just so investing to me, and it's so mysterious and so, I don't know, so awesome for all of it. I just can't wait to see where it goes. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 7 of Norn9, what you thought of it. If you thought it was confusing or befuddling. If you happen to follow the source material, please post no spoilers. But let me know how closely it is unfolding to the game and or manga or whatever it is. And if anything has been shuffled around or maybe edited out or whatever like that. Are they fleshing out the characters as much as they're supposed to be? Are there any nuggets that might have been left out, like that whole thing with why Nanami blanked Akito's memory of his brother? You know, all that kind of stuff. Are there details that got lost in the shuffle or not? And our POVs can certainly disagree, love it or hate it. Let me know what you thought of the episode and where you think it's all going. And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.